We go to Tampa, Florida for the trial of Jeremy Guerrero. The 32-year-old has been charged with DUI manslaughter. 2.5 years earlier, Guerrero was driving with a passenger in his car when he struck another vehicle, sending it into a tree and killing the driver. 57-year-old Maria Perez, a married mother of 5. Guerrero and his passenger suffered no major injuries from the crash. When police arrived, they asked Guerrero, who was high on methamphetamine, to do a series of sobriety tests. After failing the tests, police took Guerrero into custody and drove to a nearby fire station to do a blood test. On their way, officers told Guerrero about the accident.
We hit another car. You're off the road to get a tree.
When Guerrero learned that a woman had died in the crash, he tried to place the blame on his passenger, a woman named Mary.
She was messed up. She was the driver, and it's her car. Was high. You know what I mean? And she insisted on driving all the way back.
But police claimed Guerrero was the driver, and he was officially charged. Guerrero pled not guilty. His lawyer argued that because Mary's DNA was found on the driver's side airbag, while Guerrero's was not, that Guerrero could not have been the driver. The trial ended with a hung jury, but the state decided to try him again. Today, as Guerrero's second trial gets underway, prosecutors put the arresting officer, Joseph Angelici, on the stand.
In my opinion, this individual is impaired beyond his normal faculties to operate motor vehicles safely.
During a break, Guerrero, who's been disruptive throughout the trial, directs a comment at the officer, getting the attention of Judge Michael Williams.
DNA don't lie. They're manipulating the trial.
It's disruptive. I let it go the first time. It's not going to happen a second time.
Yes, sir.
But later, the judge catches Guerrero making gestures from the defense table.
You're not going to gesture to anybody again.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Are we clear?
Yes,
You
sir.
said you were clear last time. Are you clear this time?
Yes, sir.
When things calm down, the prosecution plays an important piece of evidence for the jury.
You're going to see the defendant get into the driver's seat, drive away from the gas station.
When Guerrero takes the stand, he maintains his innocence. He even tries to explain away the surveillance footage.
So we make it to about a couple lights down, and I pull over to the side of the road and quickly switch seats.
Were you driving the car?
Hell no.
But the prosecution introduces a new piece of evidence that was not part of the first trial. A phone call Guerrero made while in jail.
I chose to drive her home. She started fighting with me, pulled the steering wheel, and let me run into that other car.
This time, the jury returned with a unanimous verdict: guilty. Guerrero was sentenced to 20 years in a Central Florida prison, plus 10 years of probation. Mary, the passenger in Guerrero's car that day, was never charged in the incident.
Quit it!
You want me to hit you again?
Stay the down!
You want me to hit you again?
We go to Houston, Texas, for the trial of Terry Thompson. He's been charged with murder in the death of 24-year-old John Hernandez. The incident occurred at this restaurant when an intoxicated Hernandez, who's here with his wife, stepped outside the diner. That's when Thompson pulled up with his daughters and allegedly saw Hernandez urinating in the parking lot. Some words were exchanged, and according to Thompson, Hernandez threw a punch. In this footage, you can see Thompson in the red shirt wrestle Hernandez to the ground. He then puts Hernandez in a chokehold and gets on top of him. Meanwhile, Thompson's wife, Shauna, an off-duty sheriff's deputy, arrives at the scene.
Quit it!
You want me to hit you again?
Stay the down!
You want me to hit you again?
Stop right now!
There's Shauna holding Hernandez's arm down. But the much larger Thompson has Hernandez pinned to the ground. A woman attempts to record the incident, but bystanders block her view while the struggle continues in the background.
No, stop! Why are you recording? Just stop!
Why you need to record?
It's illegal to record! Just stop!
Thompson and his wife eventually let him up, but by then Hernandez was unconscious. Realizing how serious the situation had become, Shauna began to administer CPR on Hernandez. Paramedics arrived and took him to the hospital. 3 days later, Hernandez died from his injuries. Both Thompson and his wife were charged with murder and pled not guilty. The trial of Terry Thompson ended in a hung jury, as 11 of the 12 jurors voted not guilty. But since it was a hung jury, the state tried him a second time. This time, the prosecution adds new witnesses and digs into Thompson's past, claiming he was a violent man with a hot temper who had a history of assaulting his own children. They also showed footage of the incident in court, arguing Thompson used excessive force and had a defenseless Hernandez in a chokehold for over 3 minutes.
At the moment, 24-year-old John Hernandez gives up. At the moment, 24-year-old John Hernandez taps out, and you continue. It's certainly not self-defense, and it's murder.
Meanwhile, Thompson's attorney argued it was self-defense, and that Hernandez, who was drunk the night of the incident, was the true aggressor, and that according to his own wife, couldn't handle his alcohol.
He's a mean drunk. He's a loudmouth. He's an ass. Those are her words, not mine.
After hearing and seeing all the evidence presented, the jury returned with a verdict.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Terry Brian Thompson, guilty of murder.
Before he learns his sentence, which could be anywhere from 2 years to life, Hernandez's wife shows Thompson some sympathy.
You repent for what you did. I will forgive you. Because there's nothing I can do. There's nothing else to say.
Now the terms of Thompson's sentence are read by Judge Kelly Johnson.
Assess his punishment at confinement in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for 25 years.
Thompson was sentenced to 25 years in a Texas prison and won't be eligible for parole until the year 2031, when he'll be 55 years old. Thompson did file an appeal with the state, but it was denied. As for his wife, Shauna, she was fired from the sheriff's office, but the murder charge against her was dropped, as the prosecution believed they did not have sufficient evidence to convict. We now head over to Maricopa County Superior Court in Phoenix, Arizona, for the murder trial of alleged gang member Ramon Bueno.
Swear the testimony you're about to give truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's all we got.
Yes, I do.
Bueno's charged with 3 counts of aggravated assault, along with the attempted murder of a police officer. The officer?
James, could you introduce yourself to the jury?
Good afternoon. My name is James Casey. I'm a retired Arizona Department of Public Safety state trooper.
14, is that right?
Casey, just 5 years earlier, pulled over Bueno and some friends for heavily tinted windows, a violation in Arizona, when Bueno allegedly pulled out a gun and shot Casey in the face.
I want you to tell us about what happened that night, how it got to where we are today.
I said, your social security number. I said, have your social security number. I'll run you that way. And so he said 6. And then he said, when he said 6, I started to lean in because it sounded like he was giving me something. And he said 0. And I heard 0. And the next thing I heard was an explosion.
Tell us what you remember happening next.
I remember Ray, or Trooper Cruz, Ray, I saw him. I remember him straddling me, and I remember I was looking up at him, and he kept saying, Casey, Casey. He's like, you okay, you okay? And I remember he told me that I had been shot. And I was making a mental note. So what I was doing is, I remember I was just staring at the ground, and I was just putting people's heads, their pictures in my head. I was thinking my wife, and I was naming her name, my mom, and I was saying, Mom. I'd see a picture of my dad, I'd say, Dad. My brother, I'd say, Tim. You know, I was just trying to think. I was like, if I go down and go out, I'm dead. I will never wake up.
The following pictures you're about to see are graphic. It'll be hard to look at for some viewers. Trooper Casey tells the jury how he suffered through a total of 17 surgeries and medical procedures, including having his nose and parts of his face reconstructed, and how he has to live the rest of his life with bullet fragments in his head.
And good afternoon, Mr. Bueno.
Good afternoon.
We do have verdicts. We'll bring in the jury, please.
All rise for the jury.
At the conclusion of the trial, jurors deadlocked on the attempted murder charge, but Ramon Bueno is found guilty of 7 of the 8 remaining charges and sentenced to over 85 years in prison. We take you inside the Fresno County Superior Court in Fresno, California for a sentencing. 35-year-old Curtis Travis has been found guilty of murder, robbery, auto theft, and hit and run. Nearly 2 years earlier, Travis and 24-year-old Stephen Stowers broke into a family's home and stole a laptop, cash, and keys to a pickup truck. The 2 men sped away, driving through red lights, before crashing into another vehicle. The driver of the other vehicle, Heliodoro Revolcaba, was killed in the crash. Travis and Stowers fled the scene on foot, but were arrested a few weeks later. Through blood evidence found in the truck, investigators determined that Travis was the driver of the stolen vehicle, though both men were charged in Heliodoro's death. They both pled not guilty. Stowers was found guilty of robbery and theft, but his murder trial ended with a hung jury. That was not the case, however, for Travis.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Curtis Wayne Travis, guilty of first-degree felony murder.
He was convicted on all charges. Today at sentencing, the 2 men appear before Judge Kent Hamlin to learn their fate. Travis is in a neck brace and has a black eye because of a headbutting incident with a jail deputy. Also in the courtroom is Heliodoro's family, including his niece, who delivers a victim impact statement.
He was the most wonderful man, father, husband, uncle. A very important life was taken. And I just hope that you guys learn from this experience, because that's what my uncle would want.
First, Stowers is sentenced to 6 years and 8 months in prison for robbery and theft. As for Travis, because he has a long criminal history, the prosecution is asking for the max, life in prison for first-degree felony murder. But before the judge can even begin, Travis lashes out.
Please, take me out of here, please. Take me out of here, like I asked.
Sir, you're going to be here for sentencing.
Still upset, Travis begins shouting about the blood evidence from his trial.
The blood showed that I was in the passenger seat. Do you understand that?
I understand.
Evidence!
I understand your argument, sir.
Yeah.
And it's not convincing.
And when the judge tries to continue, Travis has another outburst.
Of course, come on. I'm sitting in prison for the rest of my life for some you do.
Travis has words for almost everyone in the court, including Heliodoro's family.
Just like the family over there, they're happy. That's not what your brother or whoever he was. He didn't want me to life.
By now, 10 deputies have entered the courtroom, some with tasers, as Travis struggles to contain his emotion. While Travis continues sobbing, the judge allows his mother to deliver a statement to the court.
He didn't go out and take a gun and shoot somebody. I mean, it wasn't like he did it on purpose. I just apologize, and I'm sorry for everything that's all said.
When she's finished, Judge Hamlin offers a statement of his own.
If you make the decision to invade someone's home and you then selfishly put others at risk in your flight from the scene and someone dies, the fact that it's an accident doesn't change how dead Mr. Rubalcaba is or how much it hurt his family. Punishment for that crime is and should be life without the possibility of parole. And I would hope that if one young man makes a better choice to change their life before they find themselves where Mr. Travis is today, then Mr. Rubalcaba's life would not be as lost in vain. I gotta have that hope. We all do. Because otherwise, this is just a tragedy. To no end.
When finished, the judge officially sentenced Travis to life in prison with no chance of parole. We're now in the El Paso County Courthouse in El Paso, Texas.
All rise.
Please be seated. The record should reflect the attorneys for the state, the attorneys for the accused are present in the courtroom.
The man you see here is 41-year-old Daniel Villegas, accused of killing 2 teens in 1993 when he was just 16. At that time, without an attorney or his parents present, Villegas says he was coerced by an El Paso detective into confessing to the murders. Despite recanting the confession hours later, it became a key piece of evidence for the prosecution.
Are present in the courtroom. The court has received a message from the jury indicating that they've reached a verdict.
Villegas has been on trial 3 separate times for this crime and has maintained his innocence throughout.
Let's bring the jury in.
His first trial in 1994 ended in a mistrial due to a hung jury. A 1995 retrial ended with a conviction for capital murder, and Villegas was sentenced to life in prison. After spending 18 years in prison, that verdict was thrown out in 2013 because of ineffective assistance of counsel. Villegas was released in January of 2014 and has remained out on bond as he awaited a 3rd trial. During that time, he fathered 2 children. Though the prosecution continued to insist on his guilt, there was no DNA, no firearm, and no forensic evidence presented linking Villegas to the shooting.
If the defendant will please stand.
The last 25 years of his life, much of it in prison, has all led up to this moment.
In the District Court of El Paso County, Texas, 409th Judicial District, the state of Texas versus Daniel Villegas, number 94-0D09328. Verdict Form B. We, the jury, find the defendant Daniel Villegas not guilty of...
For the first time since he was 16 years old, 25 years ago, Daniel Villegas is a free man.
Mr. Villegas, you have been under many conditions in this court. You are no longer under any conditions in this court. You are free to leave. Good luck to you.